Did you get the thing?
Yes, I got the thing.
Feed the dog?
Yes, I fed the dog.
Did you download the episode?
Yes, I downloaded the episode. What's up with the questions? Can we just go, please?
Permit me here and now to promise as a good comrade and a fellow artist that I will not report any of this, whatever it is, to the police.
Welcome to Abandoned Albums, the documentary podcast. Each week, our intrepid group of researchers and archivists sift through the album crates of the world, finding those records that may have been lost over time. Our team also seeks out up-and-coming artists with work we feel you should know about. When we're lucky enough, the artists swing by Thunderlove Studio to chat with host Keith R. Higgins about those albums and their careers as a whole. Sit back, relax, and thank you for joining us.
Son is a drunken bum, and he weed whacks all the time. Once he got so bummed that he took out his side, and he chopped down all the birds of paradise. Behind Lost 309, he went wild. He went wild.
Hannah Marcus has carved a distinctive niche in the world of music, with her deeply emotive and atmospheric compositions. Born in New York City, her unique musical journey has been marked by a fearless exploration of sonic landscapes that blend folk, rock, and experimental elements, delivering hauntingly beautiful melodies infused with raw emotion. Throughout her career, Hannah Marcus has released a series of albums that showcase her songwriting prowess and her ability to convey complex emotions through her music. Her lyrics are often introspective and deeply personal, inviting listeners into her world of vulnerability and introspection. Her storytelling ability has a unique way of capturing the human experience. One of the things that sets Hannah apart as a writer is her willingness to push the boundaries of conventional songwriting. Her compositions are both ethereal and grounded, creating a sense of sonic exploration that draws the listener in. Beyond her work as a solo artist, she has collaborated with a diverse range of musicians and bands, including the Cocktails, Hem, and indie rock icon Mark Eitzel. These collaborations have further enriched her musical palette, allowing her to explore new horizons and evolve as an artist. In a music industry often driven by trends and commercialism, Hannah Marcus is an artist dedicated to authenticity and emotional resonance. Her music transcends boundaries, speaking directly to the heart and soul of those who have the privilege of experiencing it. And we had the privilege of having Hannah Marcus stop by Thunderlove Studio to talk with Keith about her career and everything she's got coming up. Here is Keith's conversation with Hannah Marcus.
It's just the normal noises in here.
Hi, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I admire what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. And I admire what you do. I have to say that in my research, I ran across a review, and the author said that your work was beguiling. And the more I listened to it, the more
more beguiling, it seemed.
I agree with him 100%. And I'm eager to hear all about it. I see Weeds and Lilies from 1994, River of Darkness from 1995, Faith Burns from 1998, Black Hole Heaven from 2000, and then Desert Farmer from 2004. I can only find the last two, Black Hole Heaven and Desert Farmer. Am I missing those?
You can't find the other ones.
Not on Spotify. I couldn't find them on Spotify.
Right. Yeah. I'm mirrored. That's cool. I just got my Spotify account re-verified or verified or whatever. And I am going to put up a compilation and also the rest of the stuff. There's a demo. There's a River of Darkness, this record I did with Mark Kozlik, and a demo I did with Mark Kozlik, and then Weeds and Lilies with Normal, and a couple of other things.
Well, I look forward to that.
Thank you. It's been I took a long break, and now I'm older. That's what happens.
That's the way it works, and I am too. But
a long enough break that you die and come back to life, and then you're an infant, and then you have to wait till you're an adult again.
The circle of life.
Yeah.
Now, you grew up in New York City in a pretty creatively robust period, or at least outside looking in. I mean, the 70s and 80s were.
Where are you from? Where did you grow up?
I like the way you asked me that. Where'd you go? I grew up in the Midwest primarily, Minnesota and Ohio, but I've been on the East Coast much longer than I was ever in the Midwest.
Because, I think that's like, who's the one who said it? There was some quote that was like, there was an essay about New York City that was going around by what's his name?
Wasn't that C.S. Lewis? It was like a book almost.
Right. Like about how, and then, his famous, basically he said that the most vibrant and vital New Yorkers are the ones who've come to New York from somewhere like you, recognize the magic of it.
The essay is Here is New York by author E.B. White. And here's the quote. There are roughly 3 New Yorks. There is, first, the New York of the man or woman who was born here, who takes the city for granted and accepts its size and its turbulence as natural and inevitable. Second, there is the New York of the commuter, the city that is devoured by locusts each day and spat out each night. Third, there is the New York of the person who was born somewhere else and came to New York in the quest of something. Of these 3 trembling cities, the greatest is the last, the city of final destination, the city that is a goal.
You grew up, from what I read, excuse me while I clear my throat, with a family of artists. How do you think growing up in a family of artists informed both your decision to become an artist and your craft itself?
I think it's a little like being born in New York, in that it's like being a fish in the ocean. Like, I don't know, because I was born into a family of artists. I'm just beginning to realize some of the ways that was really weird and unusual, because it was just how things were. So it really, do you hear that tiny little bird chirping?
I do not.
I guess that's good. But there's like a family. I live in Brooklyn, and I have a big backyard in my Brooklyn place, and there's a lot of cardinal drama in my backyard. Cardinals. Actually, I think my family was a little like a family of cardinals.
Oh, really?
I mean, there's like cardinals are monogamous, and they're always, the mom and dad are always like, sort of struggling and looking for each other, and they build a nest a little too close to the ground, and then some shit happens, and the nest falls and then the baby gets, it's all a lot of drama actually. So yeah, I had a childhood filled with drama.
You know an awful lot about cardinals.
I've been watching them, and you kind of get to watch cardinals when you have a tiny backyard, and it's not tiny, it's huge for Brooklyn, but it's not the country.
Look, just to have a backyard in Brooklyn
it's amazing. But yeah, so there's this tiny bird going, and I hear it, but it's just out of it's almost out of earshot, but it's it's bringing up feelings of concern for the Cardinals. Being a child of an artist, of two artists, was a pain in the ass. It was great, I suppose. But what it meant was that, artists are narcissistic, like nut jobs a lot of times.
Yes.
And my family was no exception. And I've inherited that. I have forgot what not to say. I really haven't done an interview in a while because, I've been doing some other kinds of music for which I have not been interviewed.
Did you go right from school to becoming an artist? Did you go to college? What was sort of your pathway?
What was my pathway? Well, I played a lot of different instruments when I was a kid, switched from one instrument to another, and I started writing songs when I was 9, and I sort of identified as a songwriter, like after the first song I wrote, and I was like, that's what I am. I'm a songwriter. And then, and I kept writing songs. And then at some point I stopped. What was the question? You asked me if I what happened? Like,
what was your pathway? Did you go to college and meet a bunch of people, or did you just?
Yeah, so I did because my mother remarried actually and sort of became successful. And I went from being we went from this sort of poverty stricken family of artists to a successful artist with a businessman husband who adopted me actually. And I was sort of I had a private school, Upper West Side Jewish New York life.
Okay.
And at first I took to it very badly. Like I really had a very hard time, but then it was just how things were. Like it was a very particular kind of life in the 70s. And one of those things that you did was go to college. So I did. And I actually studied composition in high school and thought that after I went to college, I was going to go to college for music. I was going to go to Cal Arts, study with Morton Subotnick. And then I went to Wesleyan instead. And I don't know what the heck I did there, really.
Up here in Connecticut?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Don't
I should make something up, really. Well,
no.
I mean,
no. I appreciate the honesty, and I was just surprised. I'm always surprised when I meet somebody I shouldn't be who went to Wesleyan.
Really? Why?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm always like, oh, that's right by me. Because even though I live literally in the Yale neighborhood, that doesn't impress me as much as somebody who went to Wesleyan.
Wesleyan. Well, they used to make LSD. I mean, that was
All right, then.
Yeah, but also great education. I am embarrassed to think of the privileges that I was exposed to when I was 17 and went to Wesleyan. And there was a guy who founded or sort of developed the ethnomusicology department there.
Oh, wow.
Who brought in people from, hand-picked people from different countries and different genres to play. It was remarkable. And
that's amazing.
I didn't understand, I mean, it was, I did understand well enough. I mean, I had privilege and also some real handicaps, or like it was a little confusing. My parents were greatest generation parents, so I mean, they didn't. My father actually was from France. He left Paris when he was 9 and never returned because of the war.
Okay.
World War II, that is.
Yes.
And my parents had a kind of clarity of purpose that I did not have. Because, things were, I mean, my mother was the first person to go to college. They weren't being padded. Anyway, I mean, I could go into this, but it's weird to talk about your childhood, and I haven't. Except with my therapist. And
I was honestly just going to say that.
I was going to I don't know.
I am not qualified for that kind of talk.
Yeah, let's go into it. So anyway, right. Let's really get down to nitty gritty. Yeah. Do you ever listen to Leonard Cohen interviews?
I don't.
He had a shtick that he would just say things, and they were really clever, and he would say the same thing, and he had it down. He had it locked down,
Really?
Yeah, he really had an interview performance. They weren't my favorite interviews of all time, but they were just I was impressed at the discipline that he exerted.
I would imagine it takes a certain amount.
Right? Ask me this, and then I'm going to tell you that. I'm going to, make this clever remark, and it reads. Anyways, okay, go on.
So out of college, you come back to New York City, and you came up in New York City in the music, your music career in the, we'll call it early to mid 90s. Now, to me.
Well, no, I was in San Francisco.
Oh.
I moved to San Francisco in 80-something.
When I left the house, storm brewing over the sand, Gabriel Mountains, I closed the door, but I didn't lock it. I threw the keys right out. Drove on through the Central Valley and all the way to a dead end alley. Walked into a warehouse, saw him coming down the stairs, and I didn't eat or sleep for Kandinsky tattoo said the pains in her stomach were ulcers or flu. When she had the baby, she swore it was his. He said, honey, there ain't no chance that it is, but the DNA proves she conceived with that liar. Turned out to be true about the night. The popsicle blow dryer. Drove 14 hours shadowed him down a road thin, gray and still. To his home in the desert, holiday, Blueberry Hill. There was nothing in there but a big barber chair. He stuck my head in the sink and he put red dye all over my hair. And when I sat up, it ran into my eyes, and I looked in the mirror and I started to cry.
There is a literary quality to your writing, absolutely, in your songs.
Yes, true.
Having spent 15 years on the West Coast and being from the East Coast, I think there's a regionality, at least for me, in your writing, because you can write about LA, as you do in Hairdresser and Taos and Lot 309, just name two, but I still have a vibe of New York. And I'm wondering if you had any thoughts on any sort of regionality in your writing or in anyone's writing.
Well, yeah. I mean, I did grow up with like Lou Reed and Patti Smith and, you know, that kind of electric, you know, New York, those voices in my mind. And those kind of East Coast cowboy poets, I don't know, like, I moved to San Francisco, and I mean, San Francisco in the 90s had a kind of East Coast, had a kind of El Dorado, East meets West Coast vibe. Like there was a kind of like Charles Bukowski, you know, like it didn't, there wasn't, yeah, I definitely wasn't basking in the sun or surfing or, you know, that wasn't the vibe. I mean, I was born in New York Hospital and raised in, you know, what they called Spanish Harlem, which I don't know what it's called now, but Upper Manhattan. Definitely raised on like Gertie's folk city folk, you know, Bob Dylan and Phil Oakes.
I lived in San Francisco for a spell myself. I didn't much care for it at all.
San Francisco in the 90s, it had a pretty interesting energy. I mean, it was like Reagan era, like there was I mean, speaking of privilege, like there was money floating around and people were really concerned about the country, but at the same time, there was like a sense that you could afford to turn away from politics, or that like there wasn't much you could do, so you wouldn't just pay a lot of attention. And there was a kind of dark, you know, barroom, maudlin. I don't know. Like there was a lot of feeling, you know, a lot of romance, and the neighborhoods that, like, you know, there were these residential hotels in the Tenderloin. There was a lot of like this sort of, yeah, we lived, you know, we would go to these like, you know, sort of bars called the Starlight that were like, you know, that hadn't changed since the late 40s, or like, you know, the 500 Club. And then people would buy them up and keep the sign. And then that thing just, it was right as people were buying up those bars and keeping the sign. But that was like really interesting at the time. Now it's like, like there's a bar in the Upper West Side called the High Life.
Yeah.
Remember when the High Life was the High Life, when there were like hobos that would go into the High Life? And now it's, you know, I don't know. It's there are so many iterations that have passed around the High Life. I mean, maybe at some point the High Life will once again be filled with hobos. But when in San Francisco, there was that like liminal point where we were still sort of feeling ourselves in these bars, and yet there was this vitality that, I mean, it was like a lot of romance and nostalgia and shoegazing.
Shoegazing, huh? Interesting you mentioned that one. I'm glad to hear you say Lou Reed, because I get a Lou Reed vibe from your songs.
I was obsessed with Lou Reed, and there was a point at which I would run into him all the time in New York. He was recording something. He might have been recording New York.
Oh, wow. Well, what was that, 88, 89? Yeah.
Yes. And I remember once I was at like some cute cafe by myself on like Columbus Avenue, and somebody, now that I think about this, I think there must have not have been a way that this guy did it without intent. I was sitting at a table. Somebody stands up, crotch in my face, jeans in my face, and takes out his wallet and takes out an American Express card. And at eye level, crotch, leather wallet, American Express card, pan up, it's Lou Reed.
Oh, wow.
Lou Reed was doing those American Express card commercials. Yeah. So he's like, yeah, that's right. I'm Lou Reed. And here's my dick. And here's my American Express card. One of the, moments in my life I'll never forget.
There's so much to unpack there. The irony of Lou Reed and American Express. Real quick note on that. One of my favorite, Al Green just released a cover of Perfect Day. I guess it just came out today. I have not heard it, but
really,
it's like the first thing he's done in 10, 12 years or something.
Holy shit. Al Green just released a cover of Perfect Day?
Al Green returns with new single Perfect Day.
Holy, that is really there. Speaking of levels, wow.
The one thing I've always admired about Lou Reed, and I suppose going back to Leonard Cohen to a certain extent, is there's a confessional quality to their lyrics, which is something that I pick up in your writing as well. Can you tell us where Hannah the artist ends and Hannah the person begins?
I actually struggle cognitively with making things up, and I feel like you can actually state the truth, or at least say what happened, but it doesn't have to be the truth. I mean, wait, what?
No, I get it.
Like I have more trouble making up someone's name, or I'll say exactly what happened. I'll just recount an event, and it's far more interesting often than if I tried to make up some fun, fantasy. But just because I recounted the event doesn't mean that it's the emotional content is always, is directly connected to the one and only essential Hannah Marcus, soul. I've gotten mostly good reviews for things, but I got one really bad review for Black Hole Heaven, which was, it's a record. I don't know. It's got some good stuff on it,
Most certainly does.
But I did it in a certain way on a dare, I think, to myself. And there's this song, the song Osiris in Pieces.
Yep.
The screen he stares, and he builds his little cities where they don't need any air, and he lights his glass pipe and swivels in his chair and snickers as he says, what if I never, what if I never.
So this kid,
Uh-huh.
like the worst insult was that he called me a female singer-songwriter. And I think that was, there was this, and it was, as I look at it from the perspective of now,
Yeah.
I think it was so interesting because I like wrote some joke riposte to him that was like published in Pitchfork. This is not what I want to go into, but who cares? And I couldn't find the review and I couldn't find my reply because I think now that review, they don't want to be associated with what the kid said, like the idea that a female, like he was like listing female singer-songwriters, like I can't remember who he listed, Laura Nero or some like great people. And he was like, Cat Power is not a female singer-songwriter. She's a woman who writes songs, but so-and-so Carly Simon is a female singer-songwriter. Like that's a huge insult, basically. It was what he was trying to say. I think there's a confessional aspect. That's what I'm like. So in that song, I thought it was hilarious. Like not hilarious. I thought it was very funny. There was something about the anger, even though I was infuriated, I was also aware of this kind of character that is, you can embody sometimes of fury, and I think that it was confusing. It can be confusing, like to listen to, because I like to be right on the edge. And so when, like Hairdresser and Taos, I feel like is actually a more successful version of that, where it's like, although that song ends up not being funny, like but there's some ridiculous moments in that song, but there's something sort of unimpeachable about the way that the way that it was done, and with Godspeed You Black Emperor, and everybody's like, oh, whatever. I mean, with those guys from it, they, wasn't the band, but there was that kind of feel rather than just my ass hanging out to dry with the other one. So I don't know what I'm saying. Cut this all out.
Now that I will leave in. I bet you can probably find that review that you're looking for. If you go, there's a thing called the Wayback Machine.
Don't find that frickin' review. God, that review. I've memorized it if you'd like to hear me recite it.
So we've got that. Now you moving right along. You, from what I've heard and in speaking,
you can always do this again. And the whole thing we could just like start over.
Oh no, I'm having a blast with this. You clearly are very much an individual. What is your experience with producers, given your personality and your artistic approach?
It's been so long. It'll be really interesting to see what it's like. First of all, there's no such thing as a producer. I mean, there is, but I don't work with producers. The last thing I did that I'm going to put out before I put out stuff that I've actually done in the last decade is something I recorded in Montreal at the Hotel Tatango, where I did the Desert Farmers.
Okay.
And it was, I think I like to work more than with a producer, with someone who has a big personality, who has, like, if I get someone who I can collaborate with, but I know what they like, what gets them off sonically, that I feel safe with that.
All right, that makes sense. Transitions nicely into my next question, which your songs for me give me a bunch of feelings: joy, sadness, despair, a lot of different things. Strip Darts is a great example of one of those songs for me. Those lyrics can sound or even read simple, and they don't belie the depth of the song, which to me is a very deep song. How do you pack so much into so little?
I mean, that was, sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't.
you have become a desert farmer. You cover up the roads with tarps so that the brutal sun won't scorch their tender hearts. This desert heat is like a knife, it cuts right through the layers of your life. And in this desert there's a bar where every afternoon they all play strip darts. I see you in the corner drinking water, and I'm sorry that I read your diary, but you sure love that girl, it seems to me. The things I read, the things you said, I never even said. I never even said. I never ever said to no one. Just when you think your love's in vain, look out, here comes the desert rain. Look out, here it comes.
I mean, I think that of all the things that I can do relatively well, songwriting, actually, I was just thinking about this. Like, what is it about songwriting that allows me to do it? It's symbolism, it's short, it's, I think that the interplay between the timing that the melody allows, so that the way that like, you know what, I was thinking about this song, Beneath Still Waters, that was sung by George Jones, and then this guy Courtney Granger. I play a lot of Cajun music now, bizarrely, and there's a great Cajun fiddler and singer named Courtney Granger, it was the first time I heard this song, but there's a moment in this song that made me think about what it means to me, like what a good song sometimes does. I mean, not all of them. Like, for instance, yeah, I mean, it's just a certain style, but it's like, there's this moment that this person made a decision to, the songwriter, like, made a decision to break the rhyme, and it was just or like break the sort of scan, and it elevated the song like instantly into this just sort of stratospheric moment of just, you know, almost unendurable poignancy. Really great song. I can't remember who wrote it. I found the person who wrote it.
Now, strip darts, is that such a thing?
Yes.
It is.
And they played it at this bar in this desert town.
At the far end of Taos, nestled beneath Pueblo Peak, among sprawling green pastures, is the majestic Taos Pueblo.
Speaking of hairdresser in Taos, that piano intro reminds me a little bit of the Nilsson song.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah, Without You, yep. Just those first few notes, it's the same sound to me. I'm like, oh, wow. And in that same way, I didn't know that song was 9 minutes long until I read it.
Like when you listen to it, okay, that's good.
Did not feel 9 minutes. Such a beautiful song. Speaking of literary sensibility, you work with author Rick Moody.
I did.
You did, no longer anymore.
No longer anymore. But we did plenty of stuff.
There's a line in Purple Mother that reminds me of a Replacements lyric as well.
Oh, the Replacements?
Yeah.
Which one?
The ones that hurt you worst are the ones that leave you anyway. Remind me of the line from the Replacements Bastards of Young. The ones that love us best are the ones we'll later rest, and the ones that love us least are the ones we'll die to please.
Oh.
Struck a chord with me when I first heard that. I'm like, oh, wow.
When you're a mother, you love your boy the way God loves him, the way God loves him. You don't see the awful haircut, you see the part that's shining up, the healthiest part. You never stint on affection.
So that was a song that I lifted the lyrics direct. Hey, he's like, she can't do anything about this. He's eating off of leftovers. Something I really like to do is take sentences and make them into lyrics. And that was a great book that Purple America that Rick wrote.
Right.
And that was from a sort of long monologue, really beautiful monologue that it's a story of this prodigal son who comes back to take care of his mother. My dog is like, bad day. To take care of his mother after she has a stroke. Okay. So he's like bathing her. So she's talking, but she has these long pauses between her words and sentences. So this is her. And as I recall, and if it isn't the case, it's what I decided was the case, but I think it is, like, this is basically her talking about her son and like her disappointment. And I mean, the ambiguity and the sort of disappointment and the love, it's all it's like she feels rejected, but at the same time, she's clearly, like, there's so much in those words.
Yeah.
They are really beautiful words.
I have read this clip a number of times now, and I can't decide whether I love it or loathe it. I think it's great, but I just think it's so verbose. But a dip into Marcus's repertoire of work reveals a multifaceted stretch of musical invention, oscillating between two emotional extremes of joy and despair. The songwriter employs the shape-shifting textures of her spiritually soaked jazz to bridge a gap between her darkly Weimar-inspired brand of Americana and a lyrical wisdom to match the erudite precision of Anne Sexton's earthy poetry of bankrupt hopes.
Oh, Anne Sexton.
I love it because I think it says so much, but it says so much.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things that's like really wordy.
Though, actually.
Oh, it's very well written.
Weimar Americana.
I had to look up Weimar. I didn't know what the fuck that meant. I mean, I'm not going to lie.
Well, it's where we are now, although everybody always says that it's Weimar because it was such a cool time, but it was also, preceded something kind of shitty.
A little bit. A little bit. So what are you working on now?
I am releasing stuff that should have been released a while ago, but wasn't. And it needed time. And now I'm releasing it. So I'm doing it. I'm getting it out there. So what happened was that it's heartache, sorrow, loss propelled me to learn fiddle. And I became obsessed with fiddle. And at first I sort of did it as a reprieve from the sort of dark nooks and crannies of the indie songwriting world. And then it became its own world filled with nooks and crannies and obsessions and, camps and tribes. I got ridiculously into it, and it's really abstruse. Maybe is that right? Like it really gets granular, and so I started playing old time fiddle, which is a very specific type of pre-bluegrass fiddle. It's the repertoire comes from pre-bluegrass, like Appalachian, a lot of it. And I mean, it's all, there's actually from American fiddle tunes. And then I started playing Irish fiddle because I was bad at the fiddle. And there was a pedagogy in Irish fiddle in New York.
Oh, wow.
I know. And the irony is there is a guy named Potter O'Riordan, and the guy who signed me to Bar None, Tom Prendergast, is Irish. And he put out this dude's record. And it's one of the most beautiful records. It's such a beautiful record. He's an Irish composer who lives in Clare, somewhere in Clare. I can't remember. I went to visit him, and I couldn't have given less of a, the cockroach's tooth. I don't know. Is that an expression? About Irish fiddle but I was given this CD by the people at Bar None when they signed me to Bar None, and I had it in my CD collection, which I don't know if it exists because I don't, for years and never listened to it. And then when I stopped writing songs for a while and started playing the fiddle, I put that on and I was like, my God.
I do want to ask you, because somebody asked me this recently, and I am not a musician. What is the difference between
Irish
the violin? No, the violin and a fiddle.
It's the music. Yeah, it's the music.
Okay.
So it's
the instrument itself is the same.
It's the same. Although, yes, it is. It's the same. But when you're playing fiddle, depending on what type of fiddle, you might carve the bridge differently to make it flatter so that you can play more double stops on the fiddle.
This is the sound of a human heart. It will beat 72 times in this minute. Every beat can be a painful throb.
I led a kind of schizophrenic life in which I just abandoned all of the songwriting stuff and didn't let anybody know. Yeah, I know.
How do you,
it's weird, honestly. I mean, and you know what? You're the first person I've sort of publicly said that I did that in an interview to. So congratulations.
Yay, another first for abandoned albums. How does somebody who is a songwriter just totally close the book, if you'll pardon the horrible reference, close the book on songwriting just to take up an instrument. I can see the instrument part of it, sure, but you completely backed away from songwriting, not even using the instrument to write a song.
I think I felt it was like an act of some sort of perverse cutting off my nose to spite my face a little bit, but it was also, I needed to stop. I was, for a while, I think I was I was heartbroken, honestly, it's, yeah. It's funny. Here's a truth about this. I stopped songwriting for various reasons that I haven't sort of talked about because this record hasn't come out. But in interviews, I'm going to be asked about it. Mm-hmm. And it's not easy to talk about it, actually. It's not easy.
I'm sure it's not.
It didn't occur to me that it was good. So it's good. This is a nice, gentle moment, because it was 15 years,
That's a long time.
And I got very, very into fiddle, really into fiddle and into singing and into trad music and in various kinds of fiddle. And then I started playing accordion. I started playing Cajun accordion, which I absolutely love. And then somehow through Cajun music, which there is a segue into a certain flavor of singing and songwriting that I could somehow find my way back to songwriting through. So I've been writing a lot again, or a fair bit. And I just,
that's quite an interesting journey to go from nothing to fiddle to Cajun accordion.
Yeah, I sort of didn't go from nothing. I literally just went from I just stopped right as I should have been putting this other record out.
This is your Leonard Cohen moment to come up with a response because you're going to get asked this question.
It's true. It really is true.
Yeah.
And he took a long break. He went to Hydra.
So are you intimating that there is new music, original music coming out?
There will be, definitely. I'm going to put out the stuff that I'm writing now. And I've been doing olfactory art, which has been sort of inspiring me to write music.
Tell me more about that. I don't know what olfactory art is.
It's smell art. I started during the pandemic to take classes at this place called the Institute for Art and Olfaction, which is this amazing place in LA, run by this beautiful intellectual woman who named Saskia, who wanted to bring perfume, fine perfumed making to sort of democratize it, because it's been this sort of hidden area.
What is your timeline for releasing?
Well, I just got a photo shoot done with this amazing photographer who I was in the water in Coney Island yesterday in some really awkward positions. And I hope that some of this stuff comes out. So once I get those photos, then we'll get the artwork. And then I have the, all the stuff's done. It's mastered. We just have to get it to the online to get pressed. And, do a little bit of a publicity thing. So I don't know, probably, within 6 months.
Okay. Will it be a vinyl release, just digital, CD, cassette?
I think digital and vinyl. No CD, as far as I know. But I'm doing it. I made a whole compilation, sort of including some of the stripped art songs, but some of the Desert Farmer songs and others, but also including some stuff that wasn't on Spotify, the River Darkness that I did with Mark Kozlik and Demerol and Weeds and Lilies. So I'm going to stick that up there within a month from now. That's my commitment to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
For heaven's sake. What is the problem? I don't know. You know.
I don't know. All right. I look forward to it. I thank you for your time. I really do. I appreciate talking to you, and I appreciate everything that you're doing and have done.
I appreciate that. And I really, really appreciate it. And thank you for asking me. And I'm going to keep putting stuff out there and letting you know.
By all means. Hannah, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Many thanks to Hannah for her time. Check out our show notes for links to all of Hannah's work and references made during this episode. Special thanks to Mark at Bar None Records.
This episode of Abandoned Albums was written and produced by Keith R. Higgins. The show was recorded at Thunderlove Studio, where it was engineered by Daphne Miller, with help from John Thomas. Abandoned Albums was edited by Mike Hunt.
The songs you heard during this podcast were Lot 309, Hairdresser in Laos, Osiris, Strip Darts, and lastly, Purple Mother. You can stream Hannah's work wherever you stream your favorite music. We've included links to everything in the show notes section. Please remember to support your favorite independent artists. It matters.
Original music by Mike Pellegrino.
Our theme song is All I Want by Pete Belasco. In the opening of the show, the songs you heard were Livin' in a Dream by Archangels, Think Too Hard by Sid Straw, and Stronger Than Love by James Carr.
If you like what you've heard, please be sure to subscribe and leave us a rating. It really does help. Thanks for listening.
Grazie. Bailey Leaf. Rob Janicki. Mike Pellegrino. Therina Vella. Ronnie Barnett. S.W. Loudon. Michael Janicki. Peyton Janicki. And our executive producer,
Rufus Thunderlove.
Abandoned Albums receives funding from Kramerica Industries. Protect what you value. Kramerica Industries, made in America by Americans, mostly, and headquartered in America. Kramerica.com.
And now, until we meet again next time, I remain as always, obediently yours.
Abandoned Albums is a production of Paw Print Media.